And I thought that scene actually was kind of what I was looking for, in the sense of the more gritty aspect of showing what this city is, or this town is like.
Oh yeah, like Pennywise like eating him, and
like that was some gritty stuff, and that was really the only time they kept to a horror tone, because the rest of this film, although there's plenty of pop-ups, they love that coming out of the shadows. By the way, what is up with this giant CGI
skinny naked person,
7 foot tall skinny person that just runs at the camera to a bunch of bass? Yeah. Fuck off. I'm done with it. They do it in like The Conjuring, both of them, I think. They've done it in this. They've done it in a couple other ones that I've seen. It seems to, they're like, do you know what's scary? Tall, lanky things that yell at you and run at you, and that seems to be it. That's the depth we're going now.
And for me, the fact that you're even comparing the scares in this to things like The Conjuring, I think, is kind of the problem with these movies. Is that they took what is like a genuine like drama story, which has a lot of investment in the history of this town, but also the scares are like exploitation-y. Like I can think of like Pennywise like killing a baby. I can think of like Pennywise doing these really graphic things, and like that scene where he kills the gay kid as an example, where it's very moody images of him doing something horrifying.
Yes.
And then the rest of the scares are like nothing like that. And again, this is supposed to be
They're
kids.
Gags.
These are supposed to be kids growing into adolescence, and they're supposed to be waking up to kind of like the horrors of the world around them and stuff, and the scares are more like just like modern polished haunted house movie stuff. This was my problem too with the first one a little bit, was that but it's carried over and honestly made worse here, because it's just, that's all the scares are, and then the way that they do the drama is the way that every fucking franchise does drama right now, which is like the first film is the origin story, where it's just they're building to something and then they did it, and then this one is the team up movie where they all come in and get put together, and then they overcome the thing, and like that's the two forms of drama, and I'm just like, that is so not at all the drama of Stephen King's book, that it kind of blows my mind that like the drama is, here's all these people doing an origin team-up movie. Like, here's the weirdos. Oh, they're misfits. Would they have gotten together or not? Like, like I feel like I'm just watching The Conjuring meets like Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's what they've done.
Yeah,
and I'm
it
just
feels
like,
odd that they'd like. I don't know if they're afraid to go down that rabbit hole, but it feels weird to me that they would, because those things are all kind of trending right now. Like
you could do it. It would be awesome.
You could do it. People would praise you for it.
People are praising it, despite the fact that it
has none of it.
Yeah, it includes like one line about it, and it's like, there you go. That's what the movie's about.
They're like, well, see, that's why I also didn't really like the whole switch to Richie being gay, because it didn't feel authentic. If they set it up the whole way through, I'd been like, cool, like this might be interesting.
Right.
And then they could dive into it through the town, because I guess they didn't want to go with the racism stuff
at all.
They just don't mention even a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though they have the imagery of the black people dying in the fire, but that's all they want to do. They don't want to go anywhere.
Which again, in the book, is a literal hate crime, where they go and they specifically target the black club so that they can burn it down.
Which then connects to Mike knowing about the history of Derry, which they rip away from him completely in this, basically.
Yep.
Because they pulled. And what's weird, they set it up with Ben in the first one, and then they don't do anything with it in the second one.
Yeah.
So then why didn't you just give it to Mike?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Because in the first movie, Mike is supposed to be the kid interested in the town, because his father is very interested in the town as one of the few African Americans in town.
Exactly.
And he's been there for a long time. His grandfather, or maybe it was his great grandfather, I think, was someone who was in that fire, who was killed in like actual racist violence.
Yeah.
And that sparks Mike's interest in all of this stuff. And the movie, again, just has no interest of any kind in any of that stuff.
And then you find the understanding to where Pennywise comes from, really, or at least his not he comes from, because he is a space alien,
a primordial space being,
where he can feed, where the fear comes from, where all this hatred comes from, that he gets his power from, and they just rip it away to make him like a scary clown spider.
Yep.
And
that's it.
Fuck you.
They don't want to wrestle with any of the actual themes of that story, which is crazy, because I wouldn't say that Stephen King is the most, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's like a woke writer. Again, he's not a guy, he's not like one of the most incisive writers on like race in America or something.
Sure.
But even he was like, I'll put it in my book because like, there's real history to deal with here. Like, it gives his story weight.
Absolutely.
And it feels like they just took all of the weight out of this story to do like franchise horror filmmaking.
Yeah.
I really did feel, honestly, like this is as close as we're ever gonna. I mean, not the first one. I do still think that the way that they handle kind of like that Spielberg sense of like the E.T. kids hanging out kind of vibe works for that first one.
Yeah.
But this second one, I honestly felt is almost like what we're looking at as like the Marvelization of horror stuff.
100%.
That's what I felt like I was watching.
And they even started to do really, for me it was insulting because I'm like, once again, I don't think, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Bill on his bike in the first one time says "Hi ho Silver away," which is a big thing for his character because he's in love with this bike and it kind of brings
like a
him to
childhood
freedom.
thing,
Right,
yeah.
it makes him feel free when he's on it, that kind of thing. And if you don't want to include that in the first chapter, I didn't mind. That's fine. But you have James McAvoy yelling it in this one.
Like it's supposed to be so meaningful,
like, right? And I'm
emotional.
like, well, you didn't set. For me, it is because I've read the book, but that just felt like he was like, let's throw this in for the book readers. Yeah. But I'm like, you didn't set it up, so it's meaningless. It's empty.
Yeah.
In fact, it just feels like you're pandering to me, so I don't like it.
Yeah, the only thing that worked at all for me in this is a little bit of the psychodrama stuff, which is kind of like in the middle of the film, which is just the sequences where they are kind of like reliving some of their, their personal fears, and some of it works and some of it doesn't. Like again, I don't think Jessica Chastain's with the creepy grandma running around works at all. But it,
and they throw that witch girl at her randomly at one point too, where they're just like, we needed a pop-up scare here, so just have her come out of the water and then come back down.
Yeah,
you're like, what?
So again, a lot of those sequences don't totally work. I did kind of, because I did like the sequence also in the book. I did like the one where the statue goes after Bill Hader a little bit, because that was
kind of cool.
I mean, that's one of the few
I
sequences.
I was shocked that they tried it. I was big. Almost like
it's a big thing to try to do.
There was like a respect that they actually tried to put that in the movie.
But we talked about it after both watching it, and I think the sequence that does work the most is the way that.